Hello, people, and welcome to another edition of Mrs. Keating's class. So we just finished talking about Napoleon, and remember what Napoleon did is this was the French Empire that he created. He expanded the borders of France. If you look, everything in blue, dark blue and light blue is influenced. Remember, you had the guerrilla warfare in Spain. You had the French Empire. You had areas of the German states. Italy, remember, he took control of the Papal States. But remember, he did not succeed in overtaking Great Britain. He did not succeed in Portugal. You can see there the Battle of Trafalgar. He did not take over the Ottoman Empire or the Russian Empire. So let's look at the Congress of Vienna. Some key terms. These are the key terms that we will be talking about. Nationalism, desire for an independent country of your own. And we'll talk more about this later. Conservative, these are going to be people who are against change, people against the ideas of the Enlightenment. Legitimacy, this is what is the true and recognized government. Balance of power, making sure not one country becomes too powerful. Old regime is what France was before the revolution. Clemens von Metternich is the leader of the Congress of Vienna. So we have a picture of Clemens von Metternich here. One word that I'm going to add to this that I can't believe I did not have was liberal. These are going to be people who support the ideas of the French Revolution and the Enlightenment. The goal of the Congress of Vienna is to turn back the clock. So you had the old regime in France, 1789, you had the French Revolution. The people who meet at the Congress of Vienna, their goals are going to be to turn back the clock. So what is the Congress of Vienna? It was a meeting of the European leaders to establish peace in Europe, to put back Europe. So they wanted to take Europe from what it looked like with Napoleon to what it's going to look like after. We're going to clean this up. We're going to shorten the borders of France. We're going to return some of the monarchies. We're going to try and fix what happened. So you have the five great powers in Europe meeting. So who are the five great powers? The five great powers in Europe are Austria, and they will host. Vienna is in Austria, and it will be led by Metternich. And Austria is going to be a conservative nation. It's going to support absolute monarchy. Prussia is going to be another power that meets, and it's going to also be a very conservative power, absolute monarchy. And if you look at the map and you look where we're located, you have Austria close to France, and then you have Prussia bordering. Prussia is these two areas. You also have Russia, Alexander I, the Tsar, bringing absolute monarch. Great Britain is going to be a constitutional monarchy. And France, one of the things that the powers did right before the meeting of the Congress of Vienna is they returned the monarchy to France, but they understood that the French people would not accept an absolute monarch, so they made it a constitutional monarch. All right, and these will be the powers, except Prussia, which will become Germany, that will dominate Europe up until World War I. So they're going to be very important countries. So their idea is to bring peace. How are they going to bring peace? They're going to bring peace through these three methods. They're going to look to return legitimate governments. For them, that is the ruling royal families, those dynasties. Balance of power, making everybody equal, and they're going to have France pay for the trouble that it cost. So legitimacy. What is a legitimate ruler? They are the one who has the right to rule. In the United States, we've seen this term with the Trump election, with presidential elections. When we have an election, we are electing a leader. We have a process that accepts it as a legitimate ruler. At this time, they're believing that these monarchs, these hereditary rulers, are the ones who have the right to rule. So legitimacy. only monarchy is the correct form of government. Most of these prefer absolute monarchy. So they're going to take the ruling families, the ruling family in Spain, Portugal, the Italian states. The Pope's going to be returned to power in the Papal States, France. Those ruling families are going to get their thrones back. Napoleon came, we saw last class, put his family on the throne. They bring the ruling families back because they believe that will stabilize the political system. They're also going to this idea of balance of power. So we're going to take this map, we're going to take this map and we're going to make sure not any one country becomes too powerful with what we're doing. So each nation is equal, or we can at least stabilize that no one nation becomes too powerful. So we need a strong France. So what they are going to do is they're going to weaken France because they believe France's power by containing it. So by putting Prussia next to France, by creating um, this kingdom of the Netherlands, by combining Netherlands and Belgium, because together they would be stronger. You're going to create a German confederation. So all those different little German states are going to begin to work together in this confederation, but Austria is going to control that. Remember, Clemens von Metternich from Austria is running the conference. Also, they are going to stop revolution. The five powers agree that they are going to stop revolution. The other thing that they did with the Congress of Vienna is kind of tied into balance of power and compensation. For example, Russia wanted all of Poland. So if we look at this map, what the idea was, after we had this area here, this Duchy of Warsaw. Well, the idea was Russia will get all of this, but they didn't. They split Poland in half. They gave Russia some of Poland, but they did not give her all of Poland. Prussia only got half of Saxony. Prussia wanted all of this. We don't want to make those two countries too strong. Britain during this time, by this time, had taken control of the Cape of Good Hope, the tip of South Africa. Britain gets that, and the Kingdom of Sardinia, which is this little island here, the Kingdom of Sardinia is going to get Genoa. Sardinia will unify Italy, and Prussia will unify this into this area into Germany. But they're only giving these limited powers. So they are getting powers, but we're making sure we're not giving them too much land so they do not become too powerful. So the Congress of Vienna was it had some successes and it had some difficulties. First of all, Britain, being more of a liberal country, they get the slave trade abolished, not slavery. When you signed the Congress of Vienna, you agreed no longer to partake in the slave trade. Europe has some wars before World War I in 1914, but Europe's going to stay pretty stable and you're going to have no major wars until 1914. Latin America, because of the Congress of Vienna, remember, Napoleon, when he was in, he lost Haiti. And then you had the Portugal was too busy fighting Napoleon, so Brazil became independent. Those South American nations, Ecuador, Peru, Bolivia, Mexico, they're all going to gain independence, and as a result of the Congress of Vienna, they keep that independence. For the first time, the European continent works together to control political affairs without going to war. And you will, even though they're trying to stop revolutions, you will have some revolutions develop around 1848 that will lead to some new nations forming. That Kingdom of the Netherlands will split into Belgium and the Netherlands. You'll have Greece break from the Ottoman Empire and form that nation. So we talked about the weaker nations. after the Congress of Vienna, you're going to have British and Prussia, which is eventually going to lead into German power increase. And that's going to be very, very important because as Prussia gains power, that will destabilize the balance of power that was created, and that will lead us into World War I. Russia comes in as a European power. Europe will swing towards conservatism, and you will have increased nationalism, which we're going to talk about. You will have Europeans, remember, even though they didn't want to be run by Napoleon, they still wanted his law code, so more democracy is being demanded. And the British Navy will be controlling the seas until World War I. So how do they keep the peace? They form, as you can see, these different alliances. You had the Holy Alliance, you had the Quadruple Alliance, but the big one is this Concert of Europe. And the Concert of Europe is these alliances that was devised by Metternich that assured these nations would help if a revolution. So when Greece breaks with the Ottoman Empire, the Europeans form alliances to either protect it or determine if they should not have this revolution and what can we do to protect the peace. The Congress of Vienna will function as our modern United Nations. It does prevent war. It helps keep nations safe. You get these nations agreeing to have international relations, and before we go to war, let's cooperate and let's use diplomacy instead of war. So a couple terms that I threw around. Conservative. These were the people who were against the Enlightenment. They wanted the monarchies. They believed in absolute monarchy. They're against the ideas of the Enlightenment. Liberals are the idea that the monarch and the people will share power. They wanted the middle class. The radicals would want everybody, but they wanted those middle class, that educated public, to have a vote and a say in the government. And you had a constitution. The idea that you could limit a government's power is a very liberal idea at this time. And then the last one you had was nationalism, where the idea that if I go back to this map and I see this area of Italy, what I'm seeing is we share a common culture, a common background. We want to be an Italian nation, and that's going to be really, really important and lead us into the future development of modern Europe.